Every year in the United States, more than 6 million adults are living with heart failure. What's truly shocking is that most of them had warning signs months, sometimes even years before they were ever diagnosed, but they didn't recognize them. Many simply assumed it was part of getting older, feeling tired, or being out of shape. The truth is that their heart was quietly struggling and sending signals for help. Today, I'm going to show you the 13 early signs of heart failure that most people completely ignore in their daily lives. Some of these signs are so subtle, you may have dismissed them yourself. For example, have you ever felt out of breath just from bending down to tie your shoes, or noticed that you now need extra pillows at night just to breathe comfortably? These aren't minor inconveniences. They can be powerful warnings from your heart that something serious is going on. I know this may sound a little alarming, but my purpose here is not to scare you. It's to help you understand your body's signals before it's too late. The encouraging news is that when caught early, heart failure can often be managed with the right care and simple lifestyle adjustments. Recognizing these warnings can protect your independence, your daily energy, and your years ahead. Before we begin, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching this video from, and what time is it right now? Leave a comment below. I can't wait to see your answers. And if you enjoy this video, hit that subscribe button. If not, just give it a like. It really helps this channel grow. Understanding heart failure and why early recognition matters. Heart failure is a condition that happens when your heart is no longer able to pump blood as effectively as your body needs. Instead of moving oxygen-rich blood smoothly to your muscles and organs, the heart struggles, forcing the rest of your body to work harder just to keep you going. Doctors often describe it as the heart falling behind, but for many older adults, it can feel like a slow loss of strength, energy, and confidence in everyday life. In the United States today, more than 6 million people are living with heart failure, and most of them are over the age of 65. Every year, hundreds of thousands are hospitalized for complications, and the costs of treatment now stretch into the billions of dollars. Yet behind those statistics are real people, perhaps a neighbor down the street, or even a close friend from church, who suddenly found themselves short of breath while climbing a single flight of stairs. It is not just about numbers, it is about independence, dignity, and the ability to enjoy time with family. The greatest risk is not only the disease itself, but also how quietly it creeps into daily life. Heart failure raises the chances of hospital stays, increases the likelihood of dangerous falls, and shortens life expectancy when left untreated. More importantly, it steals away simple joys, gardening in the backyard, walking your dog around the block, or playing with your grandchildren on the living room floor. These are not luxuries for older adults. They are lifelines to purpose and connection. One of the reasons so many Americans overlook early signs is that the symptoms blend in with what we often accept as just getting older. Feeling tired, slowing down, carrying a little extra weight, or blaming stress for our shortness of breath can make it easy to dismiss what is really happening. It is common to think I am simply out of shape, or it must be these new medications, instead of realizing that the heart itself might be calling out for help. That is why awareness matters so much. Early recognition allows doctors to start treatments before the disease becomes advanced, which can prevent complications and improve quality of life. Simple lifestyle changes, like paying closer attention to daily weight, Taking medications as prescribed or adjusting diet and salt intake can make a remarkable difference. Many older Americans find that once they understand what their body is signaling, they feel empowered instead of afraid. Sign number 1. Shortness of breath. During activity. One of the very first warning signs of heart failure is shortness of breath during activities that used to feel effortless. You might notice it while climbing a single flight of stairs, walking from your driveway to the mailbox, or carrying a light bag of groceries. Instead of finishing the task comfortably, you pause feeling winded and needing a moment to catch your breath. For many older adults, this can be dismissed as just getting older, but the truth is more concerning. The difference between normal tiredness and a warning sign lies in how your body reacts over time. According to research from the American Heart Association, this kind of exertional breathlessness is one of the most common early symptoms of heart failure. It happens because your heart is not pumping strongly enough to supply oxygen-rich blood to your muscles. Your lungs then work overtime to try to compensate, leaving you with that heavy, breathless feeling after the simplest exertion. Imagine taking your dog for a short walk around the block. A few years ago, it left you energized. Today, you may find yourself slowing down, stopping halfway, and wondering why it feels so different. That change is your body's way of signaling that something important may be happening inside. If this sounds familiar, don't ignore it or chalk it up to being out of shape. Write down when it happens how intense it feels and share it with your doctor. Early recognition of this symptom can help prevent serious complications and keep you active longer. Remember, shortness of breath with light activity is not simply aging. It can be your heart asking for help, and listening now can protect your independence in the years ahead. Sign number 2. Trouble breathing while lying down. Orthopnea. Another early sign of heart failure that often sneaks up quietly is the need for more pillows at night just to breathe comfortably. You might begin with one pillow, then add a second, and eventually find yourself stacking 3, or even sleeping upright in a recliner because lying flat feels impossible. For many older adults, this is explained away as a new sleep habit, but in reality, it can be a very clear warning from the heart. What happens inside the body is surprisingly simple, but serious. When you lie flat, gravity no longer helps blood flow upward from your legs and lower body. If your heart is weaker, blood can back up into the veins of your lungs, causing fluid to accumulate. That extra fluid makes breathing more difficult, which is why so many people instinctively prop themselves up with pillows. According to studies from major cardiology centers, nearly 80% of patients diagnosed with heart failure report experiencing this exact symptom. Picture this in daily life. You may tell yourself, "I just sleep better sitting up," or blame it on acid reflux allergies or even an old mattress. But when the pattern changes from comfort choice to necessity, it is time to pay attention. Breathing should never depend on how many pillows you use. Sign number 3. Waking up at night. Gasping for air. Paroxysmal nocturnal. Dyspnea. Imagine being sound asleep and suddenly waking in the dark, gasping for air as though you were drowning in your own bed. Your heart is pounding. Fast panic rushes through your body, and you are forced to sit upright or even stand near a window just to catch your breath. For many older adults, this terrifying experience is brushed aside, blamed on a nightmare or an anxious dream. But in reality, it can be a serious signal of heart failure. The reason this happens is connected to how fluid shifts inside the body when we lie down for hours at a time. During the day, extra fluid often builds up in the legs and ankles, especially if you have been sitting or standing for long stretches. Once you lie down at night, that fluid redistributes and moves upward, eventually reaching the lungs. A heart that is already weakened struggles to handle the sudden increase in volume, and the result is a frightening sensation of breathlessness that jolts you awake. Studies show these episodes commonly occur 2 to 4 hours after falling asleep, and the memory can linger long after the night is over. I once spoke with a gentleman in his 70s who described rushing to his back porch at 2 in the morning, standing in the cool night air, convinced that if he went back to bed, he might not wake again. That fear stayed with him until he finally told his doctor, who recognized the symptom immediately. Sign number 4. Fatigue and reduced exercise tolerance. Another early but often overlooked sign of heart failure is an overwhelming sense of fatigue that does not improve with rest. You may feel drained from the moment you wake up, and even after a full night's sleep, the exhaustion lingers through the day. Simple activities that once felt routine, walking through the grocery store, vacuuming a room, or taking a shower, now leave you feeling like you need to sit down immediately. For many older adults, this change creeps in, slowly making it easy to blame age or stress, but the real cause may lie in the heart itself. The reason behind this constant tiredness is that your muscles are not receiving enough oxygen-rich blood to function normally. When the heart pumps less effectively, it prioritizes sending blood to the brain and vital organs, leaving your arms and legs shortchanged. Without proper oxygen delivery, muscles tire quickly, leading to a deep, heavy fatigue that rest alone cannot fix. Research shows that this type of fatigue often appears months before more obvious symptoms, but because it builds gradually, people adapt without realizing how much they are losing. I once spoke with a woman who shared how she started avoiding trips to the farmer's market, something she loved for years. She said carrying a few bags of produce left her feeling so weak she needed the rest of the afternoon to recover. At first she thought it was simply getting older, but later learned her heart had been struggling for quite some time. Sign number 5. Swelling in the ankles. Feet or legs, peripheral. Edema, one of the more visible early signs of heart failure, is swelling in the ankles, feet, or lower legs that does not go away easily. At first, you may notice your socks leaving deep impressions by evening, or your shoes feeling unusually tight, even though your weight has not changed. When you press gently on the swollen area, the skin may leave a small indentation that lingers for several seconds, a classic sign called pitting edema. This happens because a weakened heart cannot pump blood effectively, causing it to pool in the lower extremities, where gravity pulls it throughout the day. At the same time, your kidneys receive less blood flow, which tricks them into holding on to salt and water. That extra fluid leaks into surrounding tissues, creating swelling that becomes more obvious as the day progresses. According to cardiology research, about 70% of patients already have this symptom by the time heart failure is diagnosed, which shows how common but overlooked it truly is. It is important to understand the difference between this swelling and the temporary puffiness that comes from sitting too long during a long car ride or flight. Swelling from heart failure is persistent, symmetrical on both sides, and tends to worsen each evening rather than disappearing with a good night's rest. I remember a retired teacher who told me she thought her ankles were just getting old until she noticed her rings growing tight and her legs leaving marks on her recliner. She later discovered it was her heart quietly struggling. If you notice this kind of swelling, do not ignore it. Keep track of when it occurs, elevate your legs when resting, and most importantly, share these observations with your doctor. Recognizing and addressing this early sign can protect your heart and help preserve the mobility and comfort that keep daily life enjoyable. Sign number 6. Rapid weight gain from fluid retention. Another important sign of heart failure that is often missed is a sudden increase in body weight over just a few days. Doctors warn that gaining 2 to 3 pounds overnight or 5 pounds within a week can be an early signal that your body is holding on to excess fluid. Unlike normal weight gain from enjoying a few extra meals, this type of change has nothing to do with calories and everything to do with your heart's ability to keep fluid moving. When the heart becomes weaker, it triggers a chain reaction that causes the kidneys to hold on to salt and water instead of letting it pass out naturally. That fluid has to go somewhere, and it often collects silently in your tissues, making the number on the scale climb faster than you would ever expect. Many older adults notice this before they see swelling in their ankles or legs, which is why tracking your weight is so valuable. Imagine stepping on the bathroom scale one morning and realizing you are suddenly 3 pounds heavier than yesterday, even though your eating and exercise have not changed. It is easy to brush it off, but this small detail can be your body's first alarm. Doctors often recommend that anyone with heart concerns weigh themselves every morning at the same time, preferably before breakfast, so changes can be caught early. I once heard a man in his late 60s describe how he thought his bathroom scale was broken until his doctor explained it was his heart signaling distress. That simple habit of daily weighing ended up preventing a hospital stay because he caught the problem early. If you notice this kind of rapid gain, take it seriously. Write it down, call your doctor, and don't dismiss it as age or a faulty scale. With early recognition, fluid retention can be managed, helping you stay healthier, more comfortable, and in control of your future. Sign number 7. Frequent nighttime urination. Nocturia, another subtle but very common warning sign of heart failure, is the need to get up multiple times at night to urinate. Many older adults accept this as part of aging, but when it happens 3 or 4 times a night, especially with large amounts of urine, it may be something more serious. The process behind it is surprisingly simple. During the day, fluid often collects in your legs and ankles, especially if you spend long hours sitting or standing. When you finally lie down at night, gravity helps that fluid return to your bloodstream, and your kidneys are suddenly overwhelmed working overtime to flush it out. The result is repeated trips to the bathroom that disrupt your sleep, leaving you restless and exhausted the next morning. This is different from the usual nighttime urination caused by drinking too much water or tea before bed, or by the normal changes that come with age. With heart failure, the pattern is distinct, frequent, larger volumes and tied directly to your body's difficulty handling fluid balance. Research shows that nocturia can actually appear earlier than shortness of breath, making it one of the first silent alarms that something may be wrong with the heart. I once spoke with a grandfather who thought his nightly bathroom trips were just a part of growing old. But when he started keeping track, he realized he was waking 4 times every night, far more than before. That record helped his doctor connect the dots and discover heart failure before it became more advanced. Sign number 8. Nighttime cough or wheezing. When lying down, a dry, nagging cough that shows up mainly at night can be another early sign of heart failure. You may find yourself lying in bed ready to rest when a persistent cough interrupts your sleep. Sometimes the cough is dry and irritating, other times it brings up small amounts of white or even pink, frothy mucus. For many older adults, this symptom is blamed on seasonal allergies, post-nasal drip, or a lingering cold, but the real cause may lie deeper. What is happening inside the body is that a weakened heart allows fluid to back up into the lungs. When you lie flat, this fluid spreads more easily, irritating your airways and triggering a cough or wheeze. Some people describe it as feeling like a tickle in the throat that simply will not go away, while others say they wake up needing to sit upright just to settle their breathing. This symptom can feel confusing because it overlaps with common conditions that most people are familiar with. But the difference is in the timing and persistence. A cough that worsens at night, improves when you sit upright, and is not linked to a head cold should never be ignored. Studies have shown that many heart failure patients experience this cough months before more obvious warning signs appear. I recall one woman in her 70s who believed her nightly cough was just part of aging until she started noticing a faint wheeze whenever she lay down. Her doctor later explained it was fluid building in her lungs, a direct signal of heart trouble. Sign number 9. Heart palpitations or irregular pulse. Another early warning sign of heart failure is the unsettling feeling that your heart is beating irregularly, skipping or pounding harder than usual. You might notice this while resting quietly in your chair, reading a book, or even lying in bed at night when the room is silent. The sensation can feel like your heart is fluttering, racing, or doing little somersaults in your chest, and it often leaves people feeling uneasy or anxious. These palpitations are frequently linked to atrial fibrillation, a common type of irregular heartbeat in older adults. When the rhythm of the heart becomes unsteady, it not only makes the pumping less efficient, but can also weaken the heart further over time. This creates a dangerous cycle. Heart failure increases the chance of arrhythmias, while arrhythmias themselves can worsen heart failure, making each condition feed into the other. For many, the first instinct is to dismiss these episodes as stress, caffeine, or nerves. But when palpitations happen repeatedly, or when they come with shortness of breath, dizziness, or chest discomfort, they are far more serious than a passing nuisance. Studies from major heart centers show that untreated atrial fibrillation can significantly increase the risk of stroke and hospitalization, particularly in older adults. I remember speaking with a man in his 70s who said he could actually hear his heartbeat thumping in his ears at night. He thought it was just part of aging until his doctor discovered an irregular rhythm that needed immediate treatment. Sign number 10. Dizziness, lightheadedness, or near fainting. Another subtle but concerning sign of heart failure is dizziness or feeling faint, especially when you change position or exert yourself. You might rise from your chair and suddenly feel the room spin, or you may bend down to pick something up and find yourself momentarily unsteady. These episodes can pass quickly, but they often leave behind a lingering sense of weakness or worry that something is not quite right. The reason this happens is that your brain is not receiving enough blood flow in those moments. A weakened heart cannot always adjust fast enough to maintain steady circulation when you stand, walk, or climb a few steps. That temporary drop in oxygen to the brain causes the dizziness, and in more severe cases can even make you collapse. For older adults, this is particularly dangerous because a simple fall can lead to broken bones, long hospital stays, and a loss of independence. It is easy to mistake this symptom for something else, like being dehydrated, taking certain medications, or simply getting up too fast. And while those can play a role when dizziness becomes a pattern, especially alongside other heart-related symptoms, it should never be brushed aside. Research shows that fainting episodes known as syncope affect nearly 1 in 5 people with heart failure, often before the condition is formally diagnosed. I once heard from a woman who fainted while reaching into her pantry, crashing to the floor and breaking her wrist. She later learned her heart was behind the dizzy spells she had been ignoring for months. Sign number 11. Abdominal bloating. Poor appetite or early fullness. Heart failure does not just affect your breathing or your legs. It can also create unexpected problems in your stomach and digestion. When the heart struggles to pump blood efficiently, fluid can build up in the liver and abdomen. This extra pressure often leads to bloating discomfort and a persistent feeling of being too full, even when you have eaten very little. For many older adults, this means meals that once brought comfort and joy now feel like a burden. You may sit down to dinner with your family only to find yourself pushing the plate away after just a few bites. Nausea, indigestion, or the sensation that food sits heavy in your stomach can become frequent companions. Unlike occasional heartburn or overeating, these symptoms keep coming back, gradually taking away one of life's simple pleasures. Doctors explain that the lack of proper blood flow to the digestive system combined with fluid congestion makes it harder for your body to process food. Over time, this not only robs you of appetite, but can also lead to unintentional weight loss, weakness, and decreased quality of life. In fact, research shows that digestive symptoms like these are often overlooked signs of heart failure, delaying proper diagnosis and treatment. Sign number 12. Shortness of breath. When bending forward. Bendopnea. One of the lesser-known but very telling signs of heart failure is shortness of breath that happens when you bend forward. You might notice it while tying your shoes, leaning over the sink to wash your face, or picking something up from the floor. Within 30 seconds, you feel winded, as though your lungs cannot quite keep up with the simple task. Doctors explain this occurs because bending forward increases pressure in the abdomen, which then pushes upward against the diaphragm and lungs. For someone with a weakened heart, this extra pressure raises stress inside the chest cavity, making it harder to breathe. Research shows that nearly 30% of patients with heart failure experience bendopnea, and it is considered a very specific sign since healthy individuals rarely face this problem. It is easy to overlook or dismiss, thinking I'm just stiff or I moved too quickly. But if this breathlessness happens consistently, whenever you bend, it deserves attention. One man told me he thought he was simply out of shape, until he realized even tying his sneakers left him short of breath every morning. Sign number 13. Cold hands or feet or narrow pulse pressure. A final sign of heart failure that often goes unnoticed is persistently cold hands or feet, even when the room feels comfortably warm. This happens because the heart is not pumping strongly enough to send adequate blood to the body's extremities. When circulation is reduced, your fingers and toes may feel icy, and in more advanced cases, your lips or nails can take on a bluish tint. Doctors sometimes describe this with the term narrow pulse pressure, which refers to the small difference between your upper and lower blood pressure numbers. It indicates that the heart is not generating enough force with each beat, leaving the body short of the circulation it needs. For older adults, this can feel like a quiet but constant reminder that something is not right inside. I once spoke with a grandmother who said she always wore socks to bed, even in July, because her feet were freezing. She thought it was just part of aging until her doctor explained that her heart was behind the problem. As we come to the end of this video, I hope you've seen how important it is to listen to the quiet signals your body gives you. These early signs of heart failure are not meant to frighten you, but to remind you that your health is worth paying attention to every single day. And remember, if you notice any of these symptoms in your own life, the most important step is to speak with your doctor. Professional guidance makes all the difference. I'd love to hear from you. What lesson, reminder, or comfort did you take from today's video? Share your thoughts below, or simply type the word HOPE in the comments, so we know you're with us on this journey. If you found this video valuable, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share it with a friend or loved one who might benefit from it. Together, we can spread awareness and help more people protect their hearts. These tips are shared for general awareness. If you're facing any health challenges, be sure to check with your doctor before trying anything new. Take good care of yourself, keep listening to your body, and may your days ahead be filled with strength, peace, and hope.